Hey everybody, welcome back to another Nature's Always Right episode. Today is going to be about basil and how to take care of it once you've planted it into the ground, the different pruning techniques that you're going to want to use so that the plant is able to produce as much basil leaves as possible. And there's some real specific things that you can do to increase the yield. So we're going to take a look at a basil plant in 3 different stages of its life cycle and how to prune it at each of those stages. And I'll give you some other tips about raising basil plants as well that I think will really help you. Okay, so the first thing we need to check out is how the basil plant is growing. So here you've got the main stem, you've got your side leaves here that come out, and then growing out of the crotch, you have more basil leaves coming out. And so normally on a tomato or a cucumber, you'd be removing these suckers, right? But not on a basil plant. It's all about the suckers on a basil plant. So what we want to do is when we're pruning, we want to encourage these to come out. So what we could do, so let's just for example say we prune right here. Now this plant, these 2 side shoots are going to grow out and up, and then they will produce another 2 side shoots for each one. So every time you clip it here, you're effectively doubling the plant. This is a beginning stage basil plant, so we're going to prune it at the top here. So let's prune off the top. And when I'm harvesting for the market, I'm always pruning this way. So I would sell this one, and then this plant will send off these 2 side shoots. These will grow up, and then they will produce 2 side shoots above it. So that's the beginning of the basil plant and how you'd want to prune it. If this was a little bit of a shorter plant, you could prune it lower. You could prune it here, and these 2 side shoots will go out and then double themselves. These 2 down here will also do that. So pruning this way from the beginning is going to give you a much bigger basil plant going forward and give you a lot more basil leaves in general. Okay, so now here's a plant that I have been pruning just as I described to you. And here you can see that's where I pruned it before. Here come the leaves, and check out what's going on. So you've got the top of the plant, of course, and then underneath, here's the suckers where it's going to send out another 2 growth points and double the plant again. So the more you do that, the more it's able to multiply itself, and you can get more harvests. So if I was going to come in to harvest this plant, I'd want to harvest it with that in mind. So if I was going to harvest this branch here, I wouldn't want to harvest it here, because then there's nothing below that can send up new growth. I would want to harvest it here. That way these 2 growth points will come out and grow. If I was to prune it here, now this branch is done. There's nothing else that the plant can put out from that growth point. So I won't get as much basil leaves if I do it like that. So let's say I want to harvest these 2. Let's see, could I do that? If I harvest these 2, yes, they have 2 growth points here. They'll send out new shoots. So that's a possibility as well. I'll just do a quick prune on this. And just as if I was going to harvest it. Okay. And I could even do this one. So now what we've got here, we've got 2 growth points here, 2 growth points here, 2 growth points here, 2 here. We could even do this side. Now we've got 2 on that side as well. We just cut off 5 really nice pieces of basil here, but now we doubled the plant, and now it's got 10 more growth points that it's going to send up and out, and then there'll be 10 of these that we can harvest in a week and a half, 2 weeks. And now let's go check out an adult size plant. So look how thick this one is, and let's check out where we pruned it before. So that's where we pruned it. These were the 2 new growth points that came out. Look how huge they are now. So on this plant you can see we pruned it here. There's another one over here where I pruned it. So you're able to see Now it's putting out these big bushy things here. So if we wanted to prune this one, where should we prune it? So we'll look at the top of the plant. Obviously that's a beautiful piece of basil. This is Genovese basil, by the way. It's an heirloom Italian. This is my personal favorite basil. Sweet basil is also another good variety. This one seems to do really well even in higher heat. The flavor and fragrance is really fantastic. So we'd of course prune it here so that these two new growth points can go up. If we pruned it below that, there's nothing there, and that would terminate the growth of this branch. But we don't want to do that. We want it to keep going if possible, as long as we can keep it alive. So there's one more thing that I'd like to show you about the basil plant. Once it gets a little more mature or it starts getting really hot, it's gonna start putting off flowers like that. Now it's not a big deal. I even like a little bit of flower in my pesto or in my basil dishes. But what you can do is just pinch these off and the plant will continue to produce. It'll still send out its new growth points, and it's a way that you can sustain the basil plant and keep it growing a bit longer, so that you keep getting more leaves. So once you see the flowers, the plant's not totally done yet. It still has more time, especially if you can get to the flowers earlier when they're at this stage. It has a way better chance to keep producing really nice, beautiful leaves for you. Now, once the flowers get like this and it's stretched out like this is kind of done. So I would just clip the flower completely out like that, and then I could just come in, just pinch those couple out of the way, and those will keep going. So yeah, we just kind of want to avoid letting the plant get to this stage where it's really stretched out like that. It's okay though. So you can just clip that off, and then, you know, a lot of the plant has a lot of good leaves still on there that you can still harvest. As you can see, the bees really love the basil flowers. So once the plant's you're done harvesting it, it's always nice to just let this flower out and give the bees a bunch of good nectar and pollen for them. So when you're pruning basil, just remember to look for the two growth points below the main part of the leaves that you want to clip, so that you can ensure to double that branch of the plant, prune those flowers, and you're going to have a basil plant that's going to give you a lot more yield and provide basil for you for a lot longer. If you're curious, these are the pruners that I use. These are, I don't know, 7 or 8 years old, I think. They're Felco pruners. These are some of the best pruners that you can get. I'll put a link down in the description. I like these, or the micro pruners. They're a little bit easier for the smaller work, but I use these pruners for everything from pruning trees to pruning basil, tomatoes, chopping up things for my chickens, just anything. It's just all purpose. If you guys are interested, my shirt here, my wife designed this. I'll put a link down in the description to my shop on my website if you're interested in getting a shirt like this, or some of the other designs that we have on there as well. Please be sure to check the links I have down in the description, where you can purchase the best parts for your garden or your farm, whether it's drip irrigation from Drip Depot or seeds from True Leaf Market. I've got a lot of great recommendations down in there for you guys, and it's a great way to help support the channel. Hope this video helped you for pruning basil, and let me know in the comments what you guys like to do with basil. I love making pesto or throwing it in a little stir fry, and yeah, it's just a great plant. Sells pretty well at market. It goes great with tomatoes and cucumbers and all the other fun summer things that we like to grow.